Hi, this is Jessica DeMassa in the GuideWell Insights Lounge. We're reporting live here from Exponential Medicine. I'm joined by Zayna Khayat, who is the Senior Advisor for Health System Innovation at Mars Discovery District. And we're here also with Eugene Borukhovich, who is the Global Head for Digital Health and Innovation with Bayer. So welcome to you both. We wanted to start out by talking to you, Eugene, specifically about, being a legacy company. So obviously Bayer has been around for a very, very long time.
Yep.
For a legacy company to be at Exponential Medicine, what kinds of things are you looking for from your perspective, either to invest in or that are eye-opening to bring back to Bayer?
Yeah, so Bayer's been around for 150 years, right? And we kind of say we've been innovating for 150 years. Certainly the digital disruption is impacting, across the healthcare ecosystem in the industry. Exponential medicine, I do go to a lot of conferences and I've been very, very impressed. Certainly looking at what's coming next and applying that to daily work. If you think about pharma company, R&D, at the core of it is about experimentation.
Right.
And so now we need to be able to apply that in the digital space.
So picking up on that a little bit more, one of the most tweeted quotes at this conference was about, if you're not a software company in the 21st century, you will not be a company. So what do you see as the top, 2 or 3 biggest, whether they're barriers or enablers, for legacy analog businesses to even be relevant in a digital world?
Yeah, it's funny, I actually tweeted that as well, and it's probably one of my most retweeted and favorite tweets that I've ever seen. And certainly people took it, I think, too literally. Is the milkman going to go write software? I think it is an enabler, right? And I think companies like Bayer need to understand the impacts of data and the analytics and how it actually pertains to the human beings that we're, the end customers around it. One of the key enablers, and I touched on a little bit on R&D, I learned in my first 4 months here at Bayer is that there's 25,000 proteins in your body plus, and the pharma industry as a whole has only targeted about 300 of them. So there's still a lot of room for innovation in the molecular space, right? But I think the key enabler is actually taking those lessons learned, the 10-year plus cycles, applying them into the digital. So culture of that experimentation in the digital world is one piece, right? I think the second piece is risk, right? Yes, as David Alvarez mentioned today, there's a human at the end, right? So proceed with caution. And I think that we need to be able to find a balance as a company, as an industry, of the experimentation, given that there are humans on the other end that are actual end customers.
What are you most excited about that you've seen here so far at xMed? So I know this is your first time here.
Yes.
And you're new in your role at Bayer. So what are you most excited about? Are there any exponential technologies that you just can't wait to bring back?
So I'm not going to talk about specifically the technology, but I think a little bit of the mindset. What shocked me is the functional medicine, right? If you think about the pharmaceutical industry as a whole, very much therapeutic based on disease, and it was really an eye-opening keynote around the functional. And what I loved about it is it goes deep, right? There's science behind it, there's great cases behind it. So that's a major shift that could happen in the industry, right? Around biotech and pharma and et cetera. So
can we see some convergence between pharma and functional medicine maybe in the future?
I actually hope so. I think, the genomics is a big component. We obviously are part of it. We've taken steps in that direction as well. But there's definitely a convergence happening.
So picking up on the convergence, and this would be my last question, we still kind of bucket pharma as the pharma industry, devices as the device industry, and there's even a digital health industry. But really, if it's about the patients and this functional medicine, those industry lines will blur. So what do you see is going to emerge in terms of, what are we going to even call industries in this new world of medicine?
So I'm not a marketer. I will leave that to the marketers. And actually, if you think about digital health or IoT, right, you need some marketers behind it to make it mass media known. Right?
And you'll tweet about it when we get there, right?
And I'm sure I will. But I think you touched on the patient or the healthcare consumer, and throughout the conference, it's about whether it's the technology or how we approach things needs to disappear. So from a consumer perspective, it should be almost irrelevant how the industries cross. Now, of course, in the healthcare ecosystem, it seems to be. Our bodies generate data 24/7. at the end of the day, I'm a big believer that it's not going to be about individual player, and I'm a big healthcare consumerism advocate, and it's going to be up to us, the human beings, to actually make the shift across all of these industries. You know, to answer the specific question, there's absolutely quite a bit of, you know, so how do we work with a healthcare insurer? How do we work with, you know, et cetera? So I think the lines will be blurred, but I'm also a big fan of a free market economy in the sense, you know, the best people to do it at the best, with the best knowledge, et cetera, right?
Great.
Excellent. So we were going to just ask too, and maybe this is springboarding off of that, what has you most optimistic about the future of healthcare?
So I think just talking to, you know, colleagues, friends, it's really the adoption. You know, I mean, I'm wearing 2 devices, and you know, my girls, 12 and 14, they asked me, you know, can we get some devices? I said, well, for what? Well, we want to compete. We want to, you know, we want to actually, you know, win prizes over it. And so I think, you know, my hope is that our future generation understand the impact of data.
Okay.
And how they view it and their impacts to their daily lives.
Excellent. Eugene, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. So, and Zayna, also, thank you for joining us and co-interviewing Eugene. It's wonderful to have your perspective, and we really appreciate you from as far as you've come. You've come from Germany, correct?
Yes.
How many hours was that flight?
I think about 11.
Right.
So I have a lot of downloading to do on the flight back.
So. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us here at xMed, and also thank you for joining us here in the Guidewell Insights Lounge. I'm Jessica DeMassa, signing off.